As Grace experiences this true amazing journey, she goes to before the judge, and Judge Collins grants her the divorce based on the circumstances that Grace had faced. The judge awards her alimony and the divorce, and Marissa, her counselor, and Grace leave the courtroom, relieved of all the concerns that Grace had faced in her domestic dispute with her ex husband. Grace and Marissa high five each other as they leave the courtroom. Grace won her case. What a relief, says Grace to Marissa. Yes, you did. It's quite a victory to get this far in just a short amount of time, said Marissa. Let's celebrate. Let's go to the pizza pub. Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great place to start. Johnny Knox was on duty that night, and Grace greeted him with a smile. Say, I know somebody that was just passing by. Did you see him? Who's that? Well, it just so happened to be somebody you know. Oh, is that Michael Smithton? Yeah, Michael Smithton. Hmm. Is he stopping back? Yeah, he'll be back to pick up an order. You might want to stick around. I heard he was talking about you. Oh, he was. So Marissa and Grace sat in their favorite booth, and in walks Michael Smithton. Johnny Knox nodded over to Michael Smithton towards Grace's way. Look who's over there, Johnny Knox said to Michael Smithton. Aha, said Michael Smithton. I was wondering what you were up to, said Michael Smithton to Grace. I was kind of curious about you as well. Marissa jumped in. So was I. I was wondering how you were doing as well. Why don't you join us for pizza? Well, I got to get back to work soon, but I have a few minutes, said Michael Smithton. Join us for pizza. Have a slice. Michael joins him for a few minutes before he has to slip away. I do have a heavy work schedule. I'm working double shifts, so I don't have extra time to talk, but Grace, you have my card. Why don't we go out for lunch? That's a deal. That's a plan. I can't wait. As Marissa and Grace pay the bill and slip away, Grace goes back to the cottage and cleans up and mops and does all the household chores. Grace calls Michael. Hello, Michael? Yes. Is this Grace? Yes. It was so nice seeing you today. I just wanted to catch up with you real quick. Oh, I have a few minutes. I'm almost done with work today. Well, about that lunch date, I was wondering if you wanted to make it up to me since you didn't have a lot of extra time today. You know, I was thinking the same thing. I wanted to spend some extra time with you, but being as I'm so busy during the day, I have to hire some extra managers. So we have an interviewing process that we have to go through up here, and we're opening up a new business. So it's going to take a little extra time out of my schedule, but I do have some free time on the weekend if you're not busy. Being as it is Thursday, it might be short notice. I don't know if you have some time on Saturday. I can maybe steal away some time. Do you want to do lunch on Saturday? Saturday would be good, said Grace. Oh, that would be great. Saturday's a lot more flexible for me. Well, what time do you think? Well, I'm thinking about 12:30. Do you want to meet at the Firehouse Pizza Pub and we can go from there? We can decide where we want to go. Okay, that sounds great, says Grace. Okay, I'll see you there at 12:30. Oh, fantastic, says Grace. I'll see you then. Okay, Grace, said Michael. So the date was set. And then, of course, Saturday morning, Grace, of course, does her early morning chores, make sure the dishes are done and everything that's done neatly, making the beds. and gets prepared and showered and ready for her date. She decided to walk down to the pizza pub instead of driving. Saturday comes and she waits patiently at the pizza pub. Johnny Knox goes over to Grace. Grace, what are you doing? Do you want to order something to drink? Well, actually, can I just have a glass of water? I'm waiting for somebody. Oh, you are? Okay, I'll just get you a glass of water while you're waiting. So Johnny Knox goes to the back and grabs a glass of water as she waits for Michael to appear. And in walks Michael exactly at 12:30, promptly on time. Hey, Grace, says Michael. Hi, Michael, says Grace. Well, are you ready to go? Well, as Johnny Knox sets down the glass of water, am I interrupting something, says Johnny. No, actually, not at all. And Grace drinks the water slowly. We were just planning on going somewhere for lunch. Well, why don't you have lunch here? Well, we were thinking about going somewhere. I don't know. We're not sure where we're going. Well, why don't you have a seat and just casually hang out with us? Besides, my girlfriend Vanessa's coming over and she's going to wait tables with me today. You'll get to meet my girlfriend Vanessa. Okay, we'll stick around here. What do you think, Michael? Sure, why not? We're flexible. Besides, we get to meet your girlfriend, right, Johnny? Said Michael. Yeah. What do you think about hoagies? Hoagies are really good here, said Johnny. Why don't you try 2 baked Italian hoagies? Let's do it, says Michael. Yeah, let's try that, said Grace. So they ordered the 2 hoagies, and then comes Vanessa. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm Johnny's girlfriend. Ah, it's good to see you. Nice to meet you too. I'm going to be waiting on you. I'm going to help Johnny out. I'll be right back. I'll get those hoagies and check on them. So Vanessa goes back into the kitchen as Johnny's going to take over the front of the desk. Well, she seems really nice. So, how's your day going so far? Well, it's always hectic at my business. I just hired a bunch of new employees for our new business that we're opening up on Highway 76. It's a lot of training and a lot of new payroll and new things going on. So, we're in transition right now. It's a lot more money going out than coming in right now, but that's normal for my 5-year plan. I had to discuss it with my financial planner if this was the right choice to make, but I plan on having a family at some point, I hope, in the future. So I decided to make these decisions now. That's my intention, at least. What's your goals for the next 5 years? Well, I just went through a divorce, and now that I live in Missouri, I love it here. I have no intentions on going back to Pennsylvania. Oh, is that where you're from? Yeah. And the way things are going with my family back at home, as much as I miss them, I love my life here. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's just now that I'm in the cottage, I hope I can stay there. That's my goal. If something were to change, though, I wouldn't know what I would do. So you're pretty confident in your decision to stay here? Yeah, I'm confident this is where I want to make my future. Well, that's good. So you're confident this is what you want? Yeah, go back to school, maybe create some opportunities here that, I don't know, whatever happens, happens. But I haven't really dug my heels into anything quite yet. It's still premature. But I definitely know that this is where I want to be. Well, that sounds good. So you have a game plan. Well, somewhat. It's still taking shape, more or less. Well, that's better than not having a game plan at all. You have a pretty good grip on things. Well, I like to think so, said Grace. So Michael and Grace talk future plans, and Michael gets a bright idea. Let me ask you a question. I have an idea. Have you gone to any of the sights and sounds in Branson? No, not really. Have you gone to the Titanic exhibit? No. You need to try and visit some of these places. There are some things that you need to see. I have a watering hole that I go to just to go to think. And there's some places that I don't know. I just go just to reflect and think on things and pray. I'm going to take you to these little nooks and crannies, more or less. And you might like them because they're in walking distance from your cottage. You feel up to checking them out? It's kind of like a hiking trail. For me, it's like I need to go walking and get out in the outdoors. And this is the kind of region that this is for a hiker's delight, more or less. Are you a hiker? Do you like walking? I love walking. I go on 5Ks quite frequently. Oh, well, then you're just like me. I love to walk. I love to hike. I like adventures. I enjoy that kind of stuff. Well, that sounds like something I would really enjoy. So, you're going to show me the watering hole? Absolutely. So, after we're done with the pizza, we'll go on a walking trail. I'll show you the watering hole, and then I'm going to take you to the Titanic exhibit. Oh, that sounds absolutely fun. So, as they finish up their hoagies, they go on the walking trail and they check out the watering hole. And it's in walking distance from the cottage. So now Grace has found a nice place where she can sit and reflect and pray. Perfect for Grace, a place to escape to. And in their conversation as they go to the watering hole, Grace, I go to places sometimes just to find a place to escape to, and this is just the perfect spot. Grace looks at him and is astonished. You're exactly right. This is exactly what I need. As they make their way back to the car, they go to the Titanic exhibit. Now, this exhibit is like unlike any place you've ever been to. It's an exact replica of the Titanic that sailed away in the original Titanic story of that in England. They get on to this replica ramp. It's exactly like the story of Titanic, the story revealed through the boarding pass that they're given as the English woman presents them with the boarding pass and they're taken through the tour of all the relics that were left over from the Titanic that sunk in 1910. She is amazed by the experience as she goes down the staircase with him, and it's a royal experience. And she stares into Michael's eyes, and the romance begins. As this whole romantic experience erupts inside Grace, Grace looks into Michael's eyes, and it's just a breathtaking moment. Grace says to Michael, I feel like I'm falling in love already, and I don't even know you. Michael is enchanted by what she's saying. I could fall in love. You haven't seen anything yet. Michael holds her hand and kisses it. As Grace walks down the staircase, as he holds her hand, he valiantly grasps her hand and they whisk away down the staircase and literally kiss for the first time. As they walk away and off to the ramp and into the parking lot, Grace turns to Michael and says, I couldn't imagine something more romantic than being on the Titanic and being kissed on the hand. Thank you for showing me a really good time. Michael looks at Grace and says, Listen, I don't have to go back to work today. I plan on spending the rest of my night with you. There's more to come. As Michael and Grace continue to stare at each other, mesmerized by this moment, they decide to go out to dinner that night. Before going to dinner, though, they go back to Grace's cottage, and Grace gives Michael the 5-cent tour of the cottage. He is so impressed by her cottage. He looks at the backyard and he says, Wow, Grace, you have a backyard. This is so well done. Everything looks so neat and clean. Did you do all this? Grace nods and says, Yes, I did. I cleaned up this whole yard. It was in bad condition when I first got it. No kidding, said Michael. It was really in dire straits when I first moved to this cottage. It needed a lot of yard work. It needed a lot of TLC. So I really got my hands dirty and I really did clean it up. Let's just say it's my secret garden. Wow, it's beautiful. So, let's go inside. I want to see what you did to the inside. Well, it's kind of ordinary. It's nothing fancy. So, I just want you to know that we put it together. It is what it is. Well, show me inside anyway. So Grace introduces him to her house, her cottage, that is. And Grace goes into the cottage and opens the door to Michael's, what now is this beautiful plush room, is the living room. Michael's mesmerized by the beautiful artwork and the beautiful landscape of the mountains in the backdrop. Grace, this is beautiful. You really underestimate the beauty of this cottage. Look at the mountains from your windows. You can see the mountains from your kitchen. Yes, you can. That's one thing about my kitchen windows, is that's one thing I wake up to is espresso and the windows into the mountains. I can see the mountains from everywhere. I told you, I can see into my secret garden and the windows out into the mountains. It's breathtaking. Wow, I love it. Now, who did the portraits of artwork? I did. I do that in art therapy. Tell me more about art therapy. How did you get that far in art therapy? Well, to tell you about art therapy, I'd have to really dig deep and tell you the story behind what happened to me and how we met that night at the gas station. I was banged up and bruised up, and there was more to my story than what you know. Yeah, I kind of figured. Can you share with me what happened? If you don't feel uncomfortable, there's a lot more to my story that I didn't want to share with you, but I'm not afraid to tell you. My ex-husband battered me pretty bad, and he broke, well, he, in not so many words, he fractured my nose, and I escaped domestic violence. And to say it in a brief few minutes, I left him and I divorced him. I got help and I moved into this cottage as a way to escape domestic violence. So I got help from the judge. The judge gave me relocation funds to relocate to Missouri. And with the help of the relocation funds, I was able to afford the cottage and I started over. Now I can go back to college. I can go back and start my life over. And with the help of those that I work with, I went back to therapy and counseling. And now that I'm in counseling, I do the art therapy as a source of recovering from the anxiety and stress that I endured through the abuse. So the art therapy, as I get better, the art therapy improves. So you can tell by my art therapy, as I get better, my art gets better. And that's how you can see I'm making progress. I see. So your artwork improves, so does your progress improves. Yes. It's kind of like a scale on a 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. If you think my artwork is a 10, that means I'm doing very well in my therapy. And they can kind of gauge it that way by just seeing the expression of art. So if I'm looking at your portraits or your artwork and I say it's a 10, that means you're doing really, really well. Yes. Can I preview some of your work? Yes, go ahead. Take a tour. Tell me what you've done so far. Well, it, that's your call. I want you to decide what is done handmade. Well, I can tell what's commercial and what's not. So that window that you made, is that handmade? Yes, I made that myself. That's a 10. That means you're doing really well. Exactly. And the shadow box windows, that's handmade? Yes, that's a 10 too. You're doing fantastic. Wow, I'm impressed. There's so much to learn about art therapy that I could be here all night. I have all night. We could sit here and talk about art therapy. What other therapies are you doing? Well, there's frequency therapy, different frequencies for different maladies. Um, I go to a full service salon for the obvious reasons: hair care, skin care, pedicures, that kind of therapy. I call that therapy, but some people just call that full service salon, but I call that therapy because you're taking care of yourself. Okay, I could see your point. Well, I work on pottery. I work on different projects. Art therapy is just, to me, just one of many sources of recovery, healing, modalities. It's all part of the whole source of strength that you get from producing results within yourself, like how you become a better person after trauma. Exactly. That's amazing. That's very interesting. You'll have to tell me more about it when you have more time to think about it. I wish I could write a book about it, but there are sometimes not enough words to express it. Well, I really love looking at your artwork because your artwork is an expression of who you are, and it shows me that you've worked very hard at what you're doing. Well, I could show you so much more, but right now, this is what I do. And you can see in my pottery, and you can see in some of the other things that I've done just by showing you my living room. But there's so much more. I have more time than you want. Um, Maybe more time than you think. I could be here all day and look at your artwork and not get bored. So as Grace and Michael go through the tour of her whole house, she shows him his more artwork, and Michael's just impressed by the artwork. They're just so intrigued by this conversation that the conversation evolves into more conversation about healing and recovery. As we go on to the next episode, as they go on to spend the evening